In 1962, the average American man had a job. He also had a side income, not a brand, not a platform, not a passive income portfolio. A side income, something he did on weekends or evenings, that put extra money in the household without requiring a second employer, a business license, or anyone's permission. His wife often had one too. The neighborhood knew about both of them. This was not considered unusual. It was considered sensible. A single paycheck was something you built on, not something you relied on exclusively, and the ways to supplement it were so common and so well understood that nobody had a name for them. They were just things people did. Then the post-war economy matured. Incomes rose. Consumer credit arrived. The side hustle became unnecessary, or so the story went. It was wrong. The hustles did not become unnecessary. They became forgotten. And the people who kept running them quietly kept earning extra money every year while the rest of the country forgot they were an option. These are the 13 side hustles everyone knew in the 1960s, and what they pay in 2026. Hustle number 13, alterations and mending for neighbors. In 1965, the woman on your street who was known for her sewing did not advertise. She did not need to. When a neighbor's suit needed taking in, or a bridesmaid dress needed hemming, the word traveled naturally, and the work arrived at her door with a plate of something baked. She charged $2 to hem a pair of trousers. Adjusted for inflation, that is $20 today, which is almost exactly what a home-based alterations business charges in 2026. The math has held for 60 years. What has changed is the supply. The woman who could do this lived on every block in 1965. Today, she has a waiting list. A home seamstress in any American city charges $20 to $35 per alteration and can complete 8 to 10 pieces per day, generating $50,000 to $65,000 per year from a bedroom setup that costs $300. One seamstress in suburban St. Louis inherited her mother's client list along with her mother's sewing machine. She has added 40 clients of her own through word of mouth, and last year grossed $58,000 working 4 days a week. She has never posted on social media. Her marketing is a handwritten card left with every finished garment. The hustle works for the same reason it worked in 1965. Clothes still need fixing. The person who can fix them is exactly as hard to find as the price they charge suggests they should be. Hustle number 12, tutoring and homework help. Every neighborhood in the 1960s in America had a teacher, a retired professional, or a sharp high schooler who tutored the kids who were struggling. $1 an hour, twice a week, the family was grateful. The tutor made rent money. The structure has not changed. The rate has. In 2026, private tutoring for kindergarten through 12 students runs $40 to $100 per hour, depending on subject and level. Test prep for the SAT and the ACT commands $100 to $150 per session. A part-time tutor working 15 hours per week at $60 per hour earns $46,800 per year on top of whatever else they do. The platform era has made this hustle more accessible than it was in 1962. An independent tutor with a profile on a single tutoring marketplace and 3 good reviews has more inbound demand than they can serve. The families hiring them pay 20 to 40% less than a tutoring center. The tutor keeps the full rate. One former math teacher in suburban Chicago retired at 62 and built a private tutoring practice within 4 months. She works 18 hours per week at $75 per hour and grosses $70,000 per year. The commute is from her kitchen to her dining room table. Hustle number 11, appliance and furniture repair. In the 1960s, things were built to be fixed. The refrigerator that stopped cooling was repaired by the man 2 streets over who charged $5 and came on Saturday. It ran for another decade. The repair culture eroded alongside the quality of the products, but not entirely and not in every category. High-end appliances, the kind worth repairing, have become more common as a generation that watched their parents dispose of everything once decided they wanted something built to last. A small appliance repair technician in 2026 charges $60 to $90 per hour for residential repair calls. A washing machine diagnosis and repair runs $150 to $300 and takes 90 minutes. A refrigerator compressor replacement is $200 to $400 in labor. An independent repair operator taking 4 calls per day nets between $240 and $360 daily, cash mostly, from grateful homeowners who expected to spend twice that at a big box store. One retired HVAC technician in rural Kentucky added appliance repair after leaving his company. He runs 2 days a week, takes only jobs within 15 miles, and grossed $31,000 last year from work that required no new equipment, no new training, and nothing he did not already know. The 1960s repairman had a reputation. In 2026, Nextdoor and Google reviews are the reputation system. The hustle is identical. Hustle number 1, EGG and dairy sales from backyard flocks. The backyard chicken was a standard feature of American household economics through the mid-20th century. A flock of 12 hens in 1962 produced enough eggs to feed the family and sell the surplus to neighbors at 30 cents a dozen. It was not a business. It was just what you did if you had a backyard and a little sense. The backyard flock never disappeared entirely. It just moved from common to niche. And in moving from common to niche, it became significantly more profitable. A dozen farm-fresh eggs from a small local flock sells at farmers markets and through neighborhood networks for $5 to $8. The same dozen costs a commercial producer approximately $1 to produce. A flock of 24 hens in good production lays roughly 18 to 20 eggs per day, 10 to 11 dozen per week. At $6 per dozen sold to neighbors and coworkers, that is $60 to $66 per week, every week, from birds that cost $30 each and eat kitchen scraps. One retired couple in suburban Tennessee runs a flock of 30 hens and sells through a neighborhood group chat. They sell out every week. Last year, their flock generated $14,400 in egg sales alone. Startup cost, $800 for a coop and 30 chicks, 4 years ago. In 1962, this was unremarkable. In 2026, it is a waiting list. The only thing that changed is how few people are doing it. Hustle number 9, cake baking and custom confectionery. Every town in America in the 1960s had a woman who made the cakes, the wedding cake, the anniversary cake, the birthday cake so beautiful that guests asked for her card before they asked for a second slice. She charged by the tier and delivered in the back seat of the family station wagon. Her income was real and her reputation was everything. Home bakery laws now exist in all 50 states, allowing individuals to sell baked goods from a home kitchen without a commercial license. A custom celebration cake runs $150 to $600. A tiered wedding cake runs $400 to $2,000. A home baker completing 4 custom orders per week at a $250 average generates $52,000 annually from a kitchen they already own. One baker in suburban Denver keeps a 2-month wait list for wedding cakes and grossed $81,000 last year, working 4 days a week. She learned to bake from her grandmother, who charged what she was worth in 1963. The logic is the same. Look at those 5 hustles: sewing, tutoring, repair, eggs, baking. In 1965, every one of them was running on your street within 3 houses in any direction. The knowledge was universal. The customers were neighbors. What happened was not obsolescence. It was abundance. For a generation, incomes rose fast enough that the side hustle felt optional. Then income stagnated, costs kept rising, and the hustle became necessary again. Except the people who knew how to run them were gone. You are reading it now. The next 5 required a little more capital or skill in the 1960s, and they still do. But the payoff then was proportional. The payoff now is extraordinary. Hustle number 8, photography and portrait work. Before every smartphone had a camera, the neighbor with a good eye was a genuine asset. They photographed the wedding for $50 and the family portrait for $20. The smartphone did not kill this hustle. It redefined the gap. In 2026, families who pay for professional photography are paying for composition, lighting, editing, and the ability to direct people who are awkward in front of a camera. Anyone can take a technically adequate photo. Not everyone can take one worth printing. A part-time portrait photographer typically charges $150 to $300 per session. One family session per weekend at $200 yields $10,400 per year in pure side income. 2 bookings per weekend generate $30,000 to $45,000 annually. One former art teacher in suburban Atlanta started shooting family portraits on weekends after retirement. Within 18 months, word of mouth had built a full calendar through the following year. Last year, she grossed $42,000. It is the same hustle her neighbor ran in 1967, updated for a market with more money and just as much sentiment. Hustle number 7, lawn mowing and yard maintenance. The teenage boy who mowed the neighborhood lawns for $1.50 in 1963 understood something most adults have forgotten. Recurring physical service, delivered reliably to people happy to pay, not to do it themselves, is one of the most durable income structures ever devised. A lawn mowing client pays $40 to $80 per cut, 25 clients at $55 each, weekly for 30 weeks equals $41,250 for mowing grass, with a mower that pays for itself in 3 weeks. One operator who started mowing lawns as a teenager in rural Ohio has never stopped. He is 41, runs a 3-truck operation, and cleared $140,000 last year. The business plan has not changed since he was 14. Only the number of lawns has. The teenager who mowed in 1963 was not building a brand. He was building a list. The list was the asset. It still is. Hustle number 6, furniture refinishing and resale. The garage refinisher of the 1960s pulled discarded furniture off the curb, ran it through a weekend of work, and sold it for 10 times what the trash collector would have taken. In 2026, the economics have improved dramatically. Solid wood furniture made before 1970 has appreciated steadily while the supply has dwindled. A walnut dresser from an estate sale for $60, stripped and refinished with $40 in supplies, sells for $800 to $1,200 on Facebook Marketplace. One operator in suburban Pittsburgh buys from estate sales and curbside, refinishes in her garage, and sells through Facebook Marketplace and Instagram. Last year, she flipped 63 pieces. Average purchase price, $72. Average sale price, $640. Net after materials, $33,600. 2 full days per week. The 1960s garage refinisher did not have Instagram. He had a truck and the patience to sand something properly. That patience is still the whole skill. The truck is optional. Hustle number 5, tax preparation and basic bookkeeping. In 1960, the neighbor who understood the tax code did the neighborhood's returns. He charged $5 per return, did 30 between February and April, and made a semester of tuition in 10 weeks without leaving his kitchen table. Independent tax preparation has never gone away. It has been obscured by chains and software companies who want you to believe preparation requires a franchise. It does not. 120 returns at $220 on average generate $26,400 between January and April. Add basic bookkeeping for 3 small business clients, and the annual total approaches $37,000 from 4 months of intensive work and a few hours monthly the rest of the year. One retired accountant in suburban Minnesota has prepared taxes for the same 60 families for 11 years, adds new clients each season through referrals, and turned away work last February for the first time. Her office is a desk in the spare bedroom. Her software costs $400 per year. Hustle number 4, music lessons. In 1963, the piano teacher on the block taught 12 students, charged $2 per lesson, and earned nearly $100 per week from a piano she already owned. In 2026, the rate runs $40 to $100 per session. A teacher with 20 students, taking weekly lessons at $60, generates $62,400 per year from home with an instrument they already own, teaching a skill they were going to maintain regardless. The pandemic permanently changed the geography of this hustle. A piano teacher in rural North Dakota now reaches students in Chicago and Seattle who cannot find a local teacher of equivalent skill. One guitarist in rural Vermont teaches 30 students online at $75 per lesson and grossed $117,000 last year without leaving his living room. The 1963 piano teacher was limited to the children within walking distance. The 2026 equivalent is limited only by how many students they want to take. The skill is the same. The ceiling is gone. Every hustle in this video has one thing that the 1960s version and the 2026 version share completely. The income comes from the skill, not the setup. The sewing is the product. The mathematics knowledge is the product. The camera eye is the product. The patient hands on the furniture are the product. The 1960s operator did not have a platform to build or an audience to grow. What they had was the thing itself, the ability, honed and offered directly to the people around them. In 2026, the platforms exist and can help. But the operators who earn the most are still the ones who put the skill first and treat the platform as a tool, not the other way around. 3 left. These 3 have the deepest roots of anything on this list, and the most to teach about why the 1960s model of income still works better than most people are willing to admit. Hustle number 3, catering and home-cooked meal delivery. Every town in the 1960s had a woman who made the cakes and catered the office party. She charged by the tier and delivered in the station wagon. In 2026, the same model runs on cottage food laws, now on the books in all 50 states, and on a market that increasingly wants food that tastes like a person made it. A home caterer handling 2 events per month at $800 generates $19,200 as a side income. One who builds a weekly meal prep base of 5 families at $150 each generates $39,000 annually from skill and a kitchen they already own. One woman in suburban Houston runs a weekly meal prep service for 11 client families and handles 4 to 6 catering events per month. Last year, she grossed $74,000 from a commercial kitchen she rents for 6 hours every Sunday. She has a 3-month waiting list for new meal prep clients. Her grandmother did this for neighbors in 1961. Her grandmother was always busy. Hustle number 2, odd jobs and general labor for hire. In 1964, the classified section of every American newspaper contained dozens of listings from men willing to do anything: move furniture, dig a garden bed, paint a fence, clean a basement, split and stack a cord of wood. The rate was $2 an hour. The phone rang. The general laborer for hire has never stopped being needed. What stopped was the mechanism for finding them. Facebook Marketplace, Nextdoor, and TaskRabbit now do what the newspaper classifieds once did, connecting the person with the need directly to the person with the time and the willingness in real time. An independent odd jobs operator charges $40 to $80 per hour. A half-day moving furniture costs $160. A full day clearing a basement to the dump runs $240 to $320. A 26-year-old in suburban Columbus lists himself on 3 neighborhood platforms for general labor and cleanouts, works weekends March through November, and grossed $41,000 last year. His competitive advantage is answering messages within 10 minutes. Hustle number 1, the knowledge business. Number 1. This is the principle the 1960s understood better than any decade since. Every person who ran a side hustle in that era ran it from something they already knew. The seamstress knew how to sew, the tutor knew the subject, the repairman knew the machine. Nobody started from scratch. They looked at what they could already do, found the neighbor who needed it done, and charged a fair price. The knowledge business, the direct conversion of what you already know into income, is the oldest hustle in human history and the one that has changed the least. In 2026, the tools are better than ever. A retired engineer teaches CAD software to tradespeople at $120 per hour from his home office to students across the country. A former nurse consults for families navigating a parent's medical care at $80 per hour over video call. A retired marketing director advises small businesses on a $2,000 monthly retainer that requires 4 hours of her time. A 68-year-old civil engineer in rural Michigan spent 40 years designing municipal water systems. He retired and took his knowledge with him. Then a small municipality found him online and asked if he would consult. He charged $90 per hour, invoiced 40 hours over 2 months, and made $3,600 for answering questions he had answered 1,000 times before. He now has 4 clients and earned $41,000 last year from knowledge he had been carrying for free. In 1963, the man who knew something the neighborhood needed was never short of work. That has not changed. Only the neighborhood has gotten larger. Here's the thing about the 1960s that this list keeps pointing back to. It was not a better time because people worked harder. It was not a better time because opportunity was more evenly distributed. By many measures, it was far less so. It was a better time for the side hustle because the culture had not yet decided that extra income required a platform, a pitch, and a personal brand. The woman baking cakes did not need followers. The repairman did not need reviews. The tutor did not need a profile. They needed a skill, a reputation in a small geography, and the confidence to charge what the work was worth. That model is still available. It has always been available. The only thing that changed is the number of people willing to look at what they already know and say, someone near me needs this, I can do it well, and I'm going to ask to be paid. Pick one hustle from this list, one that matches something you already know or can learn in a month. Offer it to 3 people, see what happens. The 1960s operator did not overthink it. Neither should you. In this video, I covered even more old-school hustles that still work perfectly in 2026. Go watch that video next. Goodbye.